one of the things in my past career, I went in and I would evaluate a department to see how they function. Do we have the right number of people here? Are we doing the right things? Are we overpaying, underpaying? Is there a checklist? How are these things being done? But I'm not allowed to see that. Only the president and the treasurer, the way it was written and was voted upon. But I had experience to do that. And really, it needs to be done. Before we hire an executive director or a management company, we really need a consultant to come in here and evaluate our organizational chart and see how people are being paid, if they're underpaid, overworked, underworked, and is it effective? Is it efficient? And that needs to be done. It hasn't been done. We have no idea of what's going on. And I talked to Greg about it. He doesn't know.
Do our employees get an annual review?
I have no idea.
Shouldn't the board know that?
Yeah, but we're not privy to that, except for the president and the treasurer. Under the bylaws, we're required to.
Let me share this with you, what I printed out. If you could just take a look at this. 3.11 that I highlighted, that's for the board of directors. That says that the board of directors is supposed to know all that.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why the board doesn't know that.
Because we're not allowed to. That's why I was trying to get the permission to be able to go in and check all this stuff. And I got voted down. Steve and I voted, and it came out 5-2, because I made a motion that all board members, as long as they signed a confidentiality agreement, and I got voted down. So how am I supposed to be able to evaluate any of this if I don't have access to that information?
How are they allowed to vote that you don't have access to this if it says right there that you're supposed to have access to it?
That's my whole thing, because these are under, if you go to the governing documents, it's, in my opinion,
that's in the bylaws.
The bylaws.
Yeah, this is the bylaws.
The bylaws are, to me, are pretty clear that as a board member, I have a fiduciary responsibility. But the other board members, in our case, and they've been doing this for I don't know how many years now, only the president and the treasurer have access to that information.
Is that legal? Because it's in our bylaws.
I don't think it is. That's my whole point. That's the issue I tried to raise. As a board member, I should be able to evaluate that. I'm not able to ask Ursula anything. I get criticized because it's too much. I can't do what the bylaws say I'm responsible to do as a board member. And yet that's the way this place has been operating.
I mean, like, why even have a board of directors then if they don't even follow the bylaws, the governing docs? Like, how would you just vote against something that's written in there? You can't. That's why we have the governing docs. How do you know how your staff is doing?
Exactly.
This is crazy.
That's the whole problem I had, and that's what really makes me angry with Julie Harris, because that's why she just dissolved our friendship over that issue. And that it's probably because she was friends with so many people in there. But as a board member, I needed to know these things.
Sure.
And we said, no, you can't have access to it. Only the president and the treasurer.
I mean, for someone like me, I don't need it. But as a board member, you're overseeing how we spend our payroll money.
Yeah.
Payroll's like a huge percentage of our budget.
35%.
Right? 35%. But I mean, how else are you supposed to determine, if you don't have access to that, how are you supposed to determine that that's well spent money?
Well, all I got back from other board members, well, we know what each department spends, so that's all we need to know. Like, well, that's deeper than that. We need to know how they're being evaluated. Are we overstaffed, understaffed, overpaid, underpaid? I mean, I had board members, other boards I dealt with, the board would hire a consultant And half of the performance appraisal of the CEO, which would be equivalent to executive director, they would go down and they would interview the lowest levels to the managers, all that, and it was all confidential. And they report back to the board on how the business was being managed. And half of their performance appraisal was based on that. And that's the way the boards handled it. And we don't do anything. We got accused of Jennifer leaving, which had nothing to do with Steve or I. Steve adores that lady. And anyway, it came down to she was underpaid for what she did, and that's why she left. Well, if we were on top of our salary structure or payroll and all that, maybe that wouldn't happen. I asked the board if they to do an exit, but they don't do exit interviews. But in my previous careers, when we had employees leave, we would do exit interviews to find out why are you leaving and so on. And it would have been good to do that in that case.